and sisters in Soviet Russia.
Delegates from more than 30 countries gathered in Jerusalem to discuss the fate of the world's third largest Jewish community, isolated and in many instances unwillingly held in the Soviet Union. Twice before, world conferences on the plight of Soviet Jews have raised public opinion and forced Moscow to issue more immigration visas. But this time, the Russians have warned that noisy propaganda campaigns in the West simply won't help. Those demonstrating at the Wailing Wall are concerned that Jewish immigration has dropped 95%, and this year only 200 Jews have so far been allowed to leave Russia. What are accepted as inalienable rights in democracies are often considered crimes in the Soviet Union, and religious persecution of Christians as well as Jews is increasing. So Christians in Israel staged their own demonstration in front of the Knesset, campaigning on behalf of the 350,000 Jews who have already requested permission to leave Russia. In this most difficult time of Soviet emigration, Jews like Avraham Shifrin faced life in a prison camp to win their freedom.
Shalom, dear friends. I am always very happy to participate in your demonstrations, in your actions, because your work really helped to people in Soviet Union. You must remember it. You must know it. You helped to these prisoners in Soviet Union. You helped to these refuseniks, to people which cannot come to Israel. I remember very well that when I was in prisons, in camps, and when we got some news that some people tried to do something in the West, we always were so happy that it is impossible to express to you. I am thank to the God now here. But my friends, from which I always have greetings from concentration camps, they are in the same circumstances like I was. It is constant hunger, not from day to day, from month to month, from year to year. They beat these prisoners like dogs, these KGB overseers. They put them in the winter where there is now approximately 40-50 degrees below zero. They put them in special incarceration cells for what they tried to find. If some religious Jew tried to go with the Kepler, who always sit in special incarceration cell. If someone tried to write letter to the West, he always will be there. I remember very well our incarceration cell. I remember that they throw us there naked on the concrete in the frost, and they came with big sticks and they beat at us like dogs. And they told to us, you never will see Israel. Thank to the God, I am here. Amen. And they are there. And that's why we must struggle for there. We must help them. And that's why I am so happy to see you here. I am so happy that you give your time, give your heart to these people which live now in so hard, in impossibly hard conditions, without hopes. But your work give them hope.
Over 7,000 Jews have been refused immigration papers. Many are unemployed now and face not only surveillance, but a new wave of anti-Semitism and isolation. In a message to the conference, President Reagan said there could be no durable progress on East-West relations without enforcement of human rights issues. The International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem is organizing similar rallies this month in Washington, Europe, and Australia. And spokesman Jan van der Hoeven says the Kremlin is still sensitive to world opinion.
Yuri Andropov may send committees to the West. It will not fool us. He will have media working on his behalf to say it's not so bad. It will not fool us. He may send us even rabbis that are under threat in the Soviet Union to tell us that the situation is not so bad. It will not fool us, Yuri Andropov, for we want to see our Jews home, and Anatoly Sharansky. You will not fool us by all the things you say. You may use the United Nations, you may use peace conferences, you may distract the world opinion, pointing the finger of what Israel is doing, and all your venomous reporting. We Christians will not be fooled. If you want us to keep quiet, send us our Jews.
2 years ago, Christian Newsweek reported on the opening of the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem. That embassy was founded as a Christian response to the withdrawal of most government embassies, including the United States, from Jerusalem after Jerusalem became the capital of Israel. From that beginning was launched an international program called the Modecia Outcry to protest the bondage of Jewish people in Soviet Russia. The theme is taken from the book of Esther, where a man named Mordecai, dressed in sackcloth and ashes, cried out against the governments attempting to annihilate the Jewish people. The times are not unlike conditions then, as Soviets harassed thousands of Jews wanting to immigrate to Israel in some 3,000 concentration and forced labor camps. Soviet leader Yuri Andropov has tightened the squeeze all the more, disregarding the Helsinki agreements they signed in 1975. In response, Christians around the world have demonstrated in marches and rallies for the release of God's people. In Kansas City, the demonstration took place April 1st on a cold, wet, miserable day. More than 300 people turned out in an emotional response to this tragic situation. Read during the rally held outside City Hall was a proclamation in support of the release of Soviet Jews, signed by Mayor Richard Berkeley.
going to ask you, Marty, in these closing moments, for those that might be watching this program that really do not have a burden for the Jewish nation, to biblically base that burden for them.
Well, in Genesis says that I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse you that curse. I will curse them that curse you. And we all have Jewish roots, and Romans says that he that is a Jew is not one that is a Jew outwardly, but has the circumcision of the heart. So it's all, the Jewish people are all our people.
All right. And Nathan?
You know, it ties so much together as far as God's total plan. It talks about the fact throughout, even Moses talked about how the Jews would be scattered, but how in God's plan he was going to bring them all back. Talked about Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Joel, all of them spoke about the return of the Jews to Israel. That all tied together with the coming of a Messiah that was going to reign for 1,000 years. A lot of Christians think about the coming tribulation. They think about the terrible time of the Antichrist. But you know, it's only 7 years. Following that period is a 1,000-year reign spoke about all throughout the Old Testament. Part of that 1,000-year reign is the coming of a Jewish nation, nation of Israel, and a Jewish Messiah, which is our Savior, Jesus Christ.